It's Church. So today I want to come to you with a little idea that was rolling around in my tiny little brain this morning, which is, if you don't stop feeding it, it will never go away. If you don't stop feeding it, it will never go away. So what am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about the part of our nature that is contrary to what is for our good. I'm talking about the part of our nature that wants us to do things that we know are going to be destructive, that they're going to take us down a path that we don't want to go down. But sometimes, and oftentimes, myself absolutely included, we find ourselves in situations that we really did not intend from the beginning, and sometimes we're not sure why, and it's almost like we were dragged into it. And have you ever felt like that? You ever felt like you were standing in the middle of something and you're like, how the frick did I even get here? Well, bear with me on this one. Take this for what it's worth. Is it possible that the reason that we feel like that we're being dragged into situations is because the part of our nature that is contrary to God's instruction is stronger than our spiritual man? Is it possible that we have fed our carnal man to the point that it is so powerful that it literally drags us into places, as Paul says, that even though I know to do good, I find myself doing wrong? How many times do we find ourselves there? And the challenge today is, how many more times are we going to allow ourselves to be found there? This last little bit, God has been taking me on a journey of basically walking by faith. And I know we say that a lot in church, but I think I might better understand now what Abraham was going through when God said, hey, I know you like all this cool stuff you got going on around here, but I got a different place for you, and I want you to pack your crap and hit the road. And I'll tell you where you're going on the way. And that is where I'm at. and I feel like that the only reason, and let me tell you how long it has taken me to get there. This is where I wanted to be. This was the end goal. The end goal was to get to a place where I was honestly able to say that the only thought that I have is for today. That my concern was for the events of today and where He was going to lead me and take me. When I decided that historically I had proven that I was incapable of controlling life. I'm 52 years old, and there comes a time when hopefully we can all sit down and do a little self-evaluation and say, hey, how did I get here? And if you're going to be brutally honest with yourself, which is a very hard thing to do, trust me on that one, when you really break down the BS walls of, well, I'm a pretty good person. Because usually what we're doing is we're saying I'm better than someone else. I'm a better person. Better is a comparative, and that is not how we are established. Our righteousness is not established based on how good we are compared to other people. Jesus says, if you love me, you will keep my instructions. You'll keep my commandments. The instructions He gave were the instructions the Father gave. That is how we strengthen our spiritual man, is by walking in the instruction that was given to us. Jesus gave us a very simple yet difficult, that we've diluted it, as Steve Cant used to call it, and we still do to this day, cheap grace. We've adopted this philosophy. It is not a relationship with the Father. It is a philosophy that we adhere to get things. It's no different than The Secret. It is using universal ideas that God says are so, which are, you reap what you sow, and that where a man's treasure is, there will his heart be also. That's the foundation of The Secret. If you don't know anything about it, check it out. It is so close to the truth that millions of people are buying into it because it feeds the carnal man. It feeds the fleshly desires. You should have things. Matter of fact, you should spend your time making a collection of these things that you want. How about you do what the Father says that you're supposed to do, which is go into the world and to preach the gospel, spread the good news, tell them, the world, that there is a Redeemer. Not live your life to serve yourself. How many more years? How many more years will we continue to feed our lives with this? With this. That's what we feed ourselves with. Your relationship with God can be summed up in 2 books. Your checkbook and your date book. If all of your time is spent watching television, on the internet, feeding your fleshly desires for entertainment, entertain me, and then you wonder why God seems far away from you? Well, I don't know if you've ever been in a relationship before, but if you don't talk to someone, you don't have a relationship. If you don't spend time with someone, you don't have a relationship. You know, the Bible gives us the example repeatedly of the Father and the Jesus reiterating that He comes to give us certain aspects in our life that if we are in union with Him, that we will experience, but that's not how most Christians live their life. They don't experience those things. They're constantly afraid. What are you afraid of? I don't know what to do. How do you not know what to do? Well, I know why. I'm saying that rhetorically because I came from that. It's because we are taught throughout virtually every denomination in the world that the only obligation you have to God and to humanity is to say that you love them. What does that mean? What does that mean? I don't know. Yeah, I know you don't know, because unfortunately we are in an environment in Christianity where the only thing we know is what comes from the pulpit. From the pulpit? Something that did not exist. Do you know there's 2 things about the New Testament church that are ironic? Is there was no New Testament and there was no church. It was a synagogue. It operated in a completely different manner than what we have now. There was 71 elders. There was another group of elders, 23 separate from them. All of those people were involved in the education of the people. There were other rabbis, or, Jesus, like him. That's what they called him, was a rabbi, because he was a person who expounded God's word. Those people also ministered. Not one person. That concept does not exist in the New Testament. But that is how we have built our churches. So we've got a foundation that is based on Constantine's fallacy of a religious system that he instituted to bring a kingdom together. It is pagan worship. You can't take God's way of serving Him and then take a pagan methodology and jam it in there and then say, look, God, I'm offering it to you. You can't offer a pig as a sacrifice at the temple. We all know that. It desecrates the altar. You cannot offer God whatever you want. We have to offer him our entire self. You can't take bits and pieces of what he is requiring from you and lay them before him and hope it's good enough, and then run off and go back to worshiping yourself. Because when we sit and feed our need for entertainment, sit and feed our need for idleness and for not accomplishing anything, getting ourselves in a mental state where it's okay to do nothing, is that what the Father would have for us? Is that what Jesus is telling us in the Great Commission, to go out into all the world? Is all the world go out into your couch and watch television 6 hours a day? And then when we're sitting, even if, well, let's say, okay, so let's say, well, I'm watching good things. Are you? You're watching good things, but you're doing nothing. If Jesus said, if you love me, you will keep my commandments, which is to go into all the world and preach the gospel. Love God first and love your neighbor as yourself in a manner that is visible to them. How will the unbeliever know that you have passed from death unto life? Because you have love for the brethren. How are they going to know that you love your brother? Because they see it, not because they hear it. The world is sick of hypocrisy on every level. You can't say you love God, who you cannot see, and then hate your brother, who you can see. And when you hate someone because of what they believe or don't believe, if you hate someone because whether they have a D or an R next to their name, you are not being obedient to the instructions that Jesus gave us. You're not being obedient to what Paul said. You don't have to. Paul reiterating what Jesus says. Paul reiterating what God says. We do not have the right to allow our fleshly man, if we are claiming to be his, we do not have the right to allow our fleshly man to be the stronger of the two. We have to be feeding our spirit. That if our spirit man becomes weak, then the flesh will win. We will find ourselves repeatedly in situations that are destructive. They are not taking us where we want to go, where we need to be. And why is that? Because it seems like all that we do is wash ourselves. Just wash ourselves in what is literally the filth of this world. I'm not trying to be overly dramatic, but when you're seeing that what is right is now being taught as wrong, and what is wrong is now being taught as right, when destructive behavior is lauded as things to be reached out for, it's insanity. When you watch people self-destruct on these paths and then you want to duplicate that. Is that wisdom? Is that logic? Is there any evidence of knowledge in that kind of path? No. Because the enemy comes to do but three things: to steal, kill, and to destroy. Destruction is his hallmark. Lying is his hallmark. When he speaks a lie. That is what we are believing. We're believing these convenient lies. We're believing these, oh, well, this will make life easier. No, it's not making your life easier to sit and to separate yourself from the Creator. Is that working for us? How's that turning out for us? How's the state of the world right now? In the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years, I have been shocked. I have been shocked at where we have ended up with indicator after indicator saying that we're headed down the wrong path at breakneck speed, but what part of our person does the church feed? We feed our flesh. We feed our flesh. Don't bother reading the Bible. I'll read it for you. Don't bother trying to understand it. I'll understand it for you. I'll do everything for you. You show up to church on Sunday, you pay your tithe and offering, and then you get to go home and feel good about yourself. Well, how's that working out for you? How good are you feeling in that fake lifestyle? How good are you feeling in that psychological program that you have signed up to that has nothing to do with the relationship between you and the Creator of the universe? That's what Jesus came to restore. That's what Jesus came to do, was to give all of humanity the opportunity to restore the relationship that the Father had with Adam and Eve in the garden. That's what we're going back to the garden. That's where we should be headed. Not separating ourselves into thousands of different religions and thousands of different denominations and well, I think the Bible means this and I think the Bible means that. The Bible means what the words on the page say. That's what the Bible means. We have to consider that our nature is to do bad. You do not have to teach a kid to steal. You do not have to teach a kid to lie. You do not have to teach a kid to be violent. That does not have to be taught. That is who we are as humans. That is our nature. We have to teach that out of them. We have to train them up. That is the responsibility. But now we're saying that early nature, which makes you incapable of functioning in society, is now okay. Well, how's that turning out for us? How's that look? There is only one thing that will bring peace to the heart of man, and that is the love of the Father. I know many of you just cannot accept the fact that there is something outside of our space-time reality that actually cares about you, because you have never in your life had anybody care about you. Brother, sister, let me tell you right now, He loved you before you were even formed, before you were born. When this entire world was put together, He saw where you're at right now. He knows who you are. He knows your name. And He knows exactly what you're going through. And I want to challenge you today to trust Him. Trust Him. Don't trust your intellect. Don't trust your experience. Don't trust any of that. Trust Him. And I'm telling you, from 100% of my personal experience, the minute that you let go of your carnal man and hang on to your spirit man with both hands and don't let go, He will move mountains for you. All right, I love you guys. Thanks for stopping in. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys soon. All right, keep praying. See you next week.